Yeah. What is a common mistake that fintechs that sell to businesses do when they market and sell their products, right? One of the most common mistakes that I've come across is that in B2B scenarios, unlike B2C scenarios, there are multiple user personas that products have to cater to. So in B2C scenarios, as a lot of people know, the buyer and the user is typically the same person, right? So if you have a B2C PFM app, and it has, let's say, a 200 rupees subscription amount, the person who pays the subscription and the person who ends up using the app are typically the same user. In B2B, however, you will have at least two personas and sometimes more, right? So the typical personas that one comes across when you're selling to a B2B business is the end user, of course, who's actually going to use the application, the IT team, which will help deploy and maintain the application, and the decision maker or the business user, who's actually the one getting the value of this out of this application, right? So for example, let's say you sell an invoicing application to a large company. So the person who wants to get savings through better, say, invoice matching and so on is the accounts payable department, and maybe eventually the CFO, right? So they want to bring down the cost of processing invoices and so on, and that's a metric that they're going after. Now the IT team has to deploy this application and maintain it. So what they're primarily looking for is the ease of deployment, ease of accessibility, security, that the application provides, and so on. Now the end business user may be the accounts payable user, who is the final end user of the application. Now what the end user is essentially looking for is ease of use and gains in productivity so that they can save more time doing their work. Right. So each of the values that the different users are looking for is different, right? Based on what type of user persona it is. And therefore the product in both its messaging and functionality needs to be able to address these different requirements of different user personas. Therefore, B2B product positioning and messaging needs to really understand the value required by the different personas and their respective weightage as well at different stages of deployment. For example, during the initial stage of deployment, you'll probably be dealing primarily with the decision maker and the IT department, right? So you're primarily trying to convince the decision maker of the value of your product and the ease of use and the ease of deployment of your product. And then obviously, once the end users get into the picture, you obviously want to make sure that they understand the workflows well and get the best productivity they can out of the application, because their feedback is going to go back to the decision maker and is going to ensure that you get retained at that organization, right? So they're the ones who ensure your retention. But really catering to all these three different personas and maybe sometimes even more is important when you think of building and marketing B2B products.